Hollywood glitters like a never-ending parade of star power, million-dollar deals, and media frenzy. For decades, audiences have gazed at these bright lights, hoping to catch a glimpse of something larger than life. Yet beneath that spectacle sits a tangled web of power players, whispered rumors, and uncompromising gatekeepers. No name shines brighter in daytime television than Oprah Winfrey. Her success story is practically etched into the American psyche. She rose from a tumultuous upbringing to become a figure so influential that a mention on her show could turn an unknown into a household name overnight. But what if Oprah's ascendancy came with hidden bargains and steep demands? Few instances rattled Hollywood more than Dave Chappelle's abrupt decision to walk away from a $50 million deal at the height of his fame. Most people scratch their heads. What could possibly make a man forfeit such a mind-blowing fortune? Then, as more voices chimed in, including comedian Katt Williams, questions emerged about the nature of celebrity, control, and whether certain untouchable individuals within the entertainment sphere were pulling the strings in ways we never imagined. In this deep dive, we'll follow the breadcrumbs dropped by Dave Chappelle and Katt Williams, explore Oprah's own complicated entanglements with major Hollywood controversies, and unravel the conspiracies about how an elite network in Tinseltown might be orchestrating events to protect an entire empire. Buckle up, we're peering behind the curtains, and what we find could redefine how we view stardom itself. In the early 2000s, Dave Chappelle reigned supreme. His sketch comedy series, Chappelle's Show, wasn't just a hit. It was a cultural earthquake that inspired catchphrases, sold countless DVDs, and cemented Dave's status as an unstoppable force in entertainment. With Comedy Central's $50 million contract offer, he appeared poised to become the kind of A-lister people dream about becoming. Then, just as quickly as he descended, he vanished. One day he was there, filming episodes amid roaring laughter. The next, tabloids buzzed about Dave fleeing to Africa to escape mounting pressures. He soon became a prime subject for every late-night joke and rumor piece around town. Was he mentally unstable, offed himself in terms of career, or just buckling under the weight of stardom? Dave later explained his version of events in several candid interviews. His reasons for walking away were less about burnout or creative exhaustion and more about a creeping realization that the powerful forces behind the scenes might be more controlling than anyone ever realized. Hollywood, he hinted, carries an undertow that demands you surrender certain pieces of yourself to remain in its good graces. "I wasn't walking away from the money," Dave famously told one interviewer. "I was walking away from the circumstances." Those circumstances, as he alluded, involved constant attempts by higher-ups to impose creative limitations on him. He spoke about executives who wanted to mold his comedy into something more palatable for mass audiences, effectively diluting his raw, razor-sharp style. But it wasn't just creative control. Dave believed there was a coordinated effort to label him crazy when he questioned the system. He pointed to stories planted in media outlets about bizarre on-set behavior, drug use, and emotional meltdowns. To Dave, this narrative felt less like a natural tabloid rumor mill and more like a strategic takedown. Even more striking was Dave's repeated assertion that he faced an intangible threat, as though refusing to conform to Hollywood's playbook put him at risk. Whisper networks in LA, he insisted, have the power to brand someone as unstable, flush them out of deals, and block them from future opportunities. The fact that Dave ultimately returned to the spotlight on his own terms with blockbuster Netflix specials only underscored how determined he was to remain independent. But Dave wasn't the only one speaking up. Enter Katt Williams, another comedic powerhouse who faced a suspiciously parallel downfall, complete with run-ins that might not have been as random as they appeared. Katt Williams is no stranger to controversy, known for his flamboyant style, unapologetic commentary, and fearless stage persona. He's butted heads with Hollywood gatekeepers on many occasions. While some chalk this up to Katt's own unpredictable behavior, he claims there's a deeper story, one that connects directly to the same forces Dave Chappelle railed against. Katt's troubles have ranged from widely publicized arrests to tabloids painting him as volatile and self-destructive. Each incident seemed to chip away at his star power. Yet in interviews and comedic sets, Katt has consistently hinted that these fiascos are no mere coincidences. He believes the industry punishes those who refuse to bow down. They push you to your limit, break you, then build you back up the way they want, Katt once quipped during a stand-up bit. The line between joke and personal testimony blurred in that moment. Much like Dave, Katt suggests an unofficial code dictates what can and cannot be said, especially when it comes to shedding light on murky dealings or powerful alliances. It's no secret that Katt was among the first high-profile comedians to publicly defend Dave's abrupt departure from Comedy Central. While mainstream outlets mockingly speculated about Dave's mental health, Katt took a radically different stance. Dave was protecting himself from an unscrupulous system. He even accused certain media moguls, Oprah Winfrey being a prime suspect, of having more influence over comedic careers than fans realize, though some might dismiss Katt Williams as just another entertainer with a penchant for the dramatic. The parallels between his story and Dave's shouldn't be ignored. Both soared to comedic stardom, both began voicing concerns about how deals were brokered and how images were shaped, and both found themselves suddenly on the receiving end of negative press. But how does one of the most respected and influential figures in modern media fit into all this? Let's delve deeper into the Oprah connection because the rumors swirling around her activities go far beyond the occasional cameo on a talk show. It's difficult to overstate Oprah Winfrey's influence on American culture. She effectively invented the idea of the talk show as a life-coaching, soul-bearing phenomenon. Her name on a book cover instantly translated to bestseller status, and her annual Favorite Things segment could single-handedly launch a product's success story. Then came OWN, her very own network, which further cemented Oprah's stronghold in entertainment. Millions saw her as a spiritual guide, trusting her recommendations on everything from home decor to spiritual gurus. But behind the philanthropic spotlight, critics began asking uncomfortable questions. Just how was Oprah maintaining her empire so seamlessly? Did her alliances stretch into circles that many viewers would consider deeply problematic? Consider the allegations tying her to Harvey Weinstein, the once untouchable producer who fell from grace after revelations of predatory behavior. While many in Hollywood had some degree of contact with Weinstein, Oprah was seen multiple times publicly praising him or warmly interacting at events. Some people interpret that as normal networking. Others ask if she turned a blind eye to open secrets regarding Weinstein's conduct. Then there's the puzzling case of John of God, a Brazilian faith healer Oprah praised in a widely watched segment. Hailed as a miraculous figure, John of God later faced horrifying accusations of assault that led to his imprisonment. Skeptics question whether Oprah's endorsement gave John of God a veneer of legitimacy, making it easier for him to continue drawing vulnerable followers. These incidents might be written off as coincidences. Oprah, after all, meets countless people in the course of her career, but a growing chorus of critics believes these cases expose a consistent pattern. Oprah aligning with powerful or miraculous men whose reputations eventually implode. That pattern leads some to wonder if she's part of a bigger machine that not only propels certain individuals to fame, but also shelters them from accountability until the pressure becomes insurmountable. In other words, Oprah's philanthropic glow might be overshadowing an empire built on gatekeeping deals, shaping public narratives, and arguably protecting questionable figures. This theory gained traction after another story, one that was chillingly personal for one of Hollywood's biggest supermodels, resurfaced. When Cindy Crawford appeared on The Oprah Winfrey Show at the tender age of 20, she was already a rising star in the modeling world. On the surface, this looked like a golden opportunity. What emerging talent wouldn't want Oprah's seal of approval? But according to Cindy, the on-set experience made her feel objectified and deeply uncomfortable. Years later, Cindy revealed that Oprah essentially instructed her to stand up and show off her physique to the audience, treating her more like a prop than a guest. By modern standards, especially in a number Me Too era focusing heavily on exploitation and objectification, this interview segment raises red flags. The moment garnered renewed scrutiny when the footage mysteriously disappeared from YouTube, fueling speculation that Oprah's team wanted to erase any evidence of such a questionable segment. Critics pointed out the hypocrisy. Oprah, the champion of female empowerment, had essentially presented a young woman as an object for the crowd's approval. Did the public immediate backlash follow? Back when it happened, not really. Oprah's monumental popularity at the time overshadowed almost any criticism that dared emerge. Cindy Crawford herself was still relatively new to show business and likely didn't want to rock the boat. But with hindsight, the incident now reads like an example of how Oprah, despite her nurturing on-air persona, could perpetuate the very exploitation she purported to combat. But that's just one story, you might say. True, yet combined with the revelations around Harvey Weinstein, John of God, and other controversies, a pattern emerges of Oprah's show and influence, shaping the narrative in ways that may not always serve the guest's best interests. If Cindy Crawford felt dehumanized on national television while under Oprah's guiding hand, what might that say about lesser-known talents who could never hope to match Cindy's later clout in the industry? And how does this tie back into the experiences of Dave Chappelle and Katt Williams, both of whom claim they were similarly manipulated, but on a scale that threatened their entire livelihoods? From the outside, Hollywood seems like a land of spontaneous success. A gifted musician or comedian gains viral fame. A breakout actor receives an Oscar and is forever set. But if you listen to Dave Chappelle and Katt Williams, plus countless anonymous insiders, that's not how it really works. They say stardom is orchestrated by a silent network of producers, executives, publicists, and influential media personalities, each with vested interests. Here's how it allegedly goes. Talent discovery. The industry scouts a fresh face or a breakout act. Rapid elevation. Media-friendly personalities receive glowing coverage, major roles, or huge comedy specials. Public consensus. They're unstoppable. Obedience testing. At some point, stars find themselves at a crossroads where they must make ethical compromises to maintain their momentum. Sometimes it's signing on to questionable projects. Sometimes it's endorsing powerful figureheads without question. Reinforcement or ruin, comply, and you remain on Hollywood's A-list. Resist, and you get sidelined, suddenly labeled hard to work with, unreliable, or mentally unstable. For Dave Chappelle, the $50 million Comedy Central deal might have been that obedience test. Was the network asking Dave to conform to a sanitized comedic style? Were they planning to alter storylines in a way that conflicted with Dave's moral code? And once Dave walked away, how did powerful insiders attempt to reinforce the idea that he was simply nuts or ungrateful? Katt Williams has suggested that even legal troubles, like the array of arrests and lawsuits he's faced, could sometimes be orchestrated as punishment for refusing to toe the line. While this might sound like conspiracy theorizing, Hollywood does have documented histories of blacklisting in earlier eras, especially during the mid-20th century Red Scare. If it happened then, who's to say it can't happen now under different circumstances? Where does Oprah fit? In the eyes of conspiracy-minded observers, she's the ultimate gatekeeper, with an unparalleled ability to shape public perception through talk shows, production deals, and her magazine empire. Oprah's alleged role could be to endorse those who play by the unwritten rules and marginalize those who don't. Considering her financial and cultural power, it's not far-fetched to see how a single nod or a carefully placed criticism from Oprah could tilt someone's entire career trajectory. As these threads weave together, Oprah's name repeatedly appears next to some of Hollywood's biggest controversies. Harvey Weinstein. Photos of Oprah and Weinstein embracing at lavish parties. Critics wonder if Oprah knew about his alleged conduct. John of God. Oprah's show once championed his miraculous healing abilities. The segment aired widely and elevated him to international fame. Then he was later convicted of horrifying crimes. Jeffrey Epstein. While no direct collaboration with Oprah was publicized, rumors swirl about her possible connections within his influential circles, given how deeply he was enmeshed in Hollywood's upper crust. Each instance paints Oprah as someone who either unwittingly or willfully rubbed elbows with men capable of shocking crimes. Detractors insist these relationships go beyond random professional encounters. They argue that Oprah's endorsements lent a veneer of respectability to dangerous figures, which in turn helped them evade scrutiny for longer than they otherwise might have. Even Oprah's philanthropic initiatives draw cynicism in some corners. Her well-publicized school for girls in South Africa faced controversies, including allegations of abuse by staff. Although Oprah addressed the scandal publicly, skeptics wonder whether the school's creation was part genuine goodwill and part brand-building effort, a strategic move to keep Oprah's moral standing beyond reproach, even as controversies around her associates ballooned. And then, of course, there's the ever-present question: why do so many of Hollywood's misdeeds seem to remain buried until they balloon into unstoppable public scandals? Perhaps because powerful individuals have a vested interest in keeping them hidden. If Oprah is as central to the system as some claim, her clout might have ensured that negative stories about her circle stayed in the rumor realm, at least until undeniable evidence surfaced. While Oprah's brand once seemed untouchable, the rise of social media and alternative comedy platforms has reduced the stranglehold that big networks and daytime TV royalty once held. Dave Chappelle returned to the spotlight via Netflix specials, generating enormous viewership and reopening discussions about his clash with Comedy Central. The result? A reappraisal of Dave as not just a comedic genius, but also a figure who dared defy the system. Katt Williams, despite periodic brushes with the law and mainstream critiques, remains a box office force in stand-up tours. His fans are fiercely loyal, partly because they believe Katt's troubles stem from an industry vendetta. Whenever Katt unleashes a rant on Hollywood's gatekeeping and alleged sabotage, social media lights up. People find it easier than ever to share these perspectives, unfiltered by big media. Now, one might wonder, if Oprah and her ilk are as powerful as alleged, why haven't Dave and Katt been silenced entirely? The answer could lie in the shifting nature of media. Crowds can rally behind a performer on YouTube, Twitter, or Patreon, bypassing traditional gatekeepers. Dave's Netflix deal wasn't reliant on an old-school talk show anointment. It relied on the streaming platform's appetite for edgy content. Katt sells out tours simply by virtue of fans' direct support. Yet, the tension persists. Dave openly criticizes the same Hollywood system that previously tried to brand him unhinged. Katt continues naming names and mocking the powers that be. Their combined refusal to back down underscores how the long-held power structure is fraying. Whether Oprah's empire will adapt, or whether it's vulnerable to complete collapse, is an open question. If the allegations about Hollywood's hidden machinery are accurate, then Oprah stands at the center of a labyrinth woven from media alliances, high-stakes deals, and an army of PR fixers. This labyrinth might be responsible for deciding which stars get featured spots on talk shows and primetime specials, suppressing or marginalizing those who speak out of turn, maintaining relationships with influential and occasionally dangerous figures to preserve the status quo. Consider how swiftly negative headlines surface when a celebrity falls out of line. The comedic meltdown, the bizarre public rant. Those stories can overshadow real grievances about contract disputes and controlling executives. For Dave Chappelle, it was the "he lost his mind in Africa" narrative. For Katt Williams, a cluster of arrests and scuffles overshadowed his statements on industry manipulation. Regardless of one's stance on the specifics, enough patterns and stories exist to suggest that Hollywood's glitzy facade conceals a complex, often ruthless environment. And Oprah, someone whose brand is built on authenticity and self-empowerment, stands accused of either knowingly playing the system or inadvertently feeding it. Maybe both. Critics argue that her closeness with controversial figures like Weinstein or John of God reveals either striking naivety or chilling complicity. Yet Oprah's defenders maintain she's a generous spirit who simply extended her platform to people who later betrayed her trust. Without concrete proof, the debate rages on, but the seeds of doubt have been planted. The internet has cracked open the once monolithic control that major networks and talk show hosts wielded. Podcasts, indie media outlets, and social platforms allow celebrities and creators to tell their stories directly to fans, free from heavily edited interviews or narratives spun by outside forces. Dave Chappelle harnessed this new world by releasing specials with minimal corporate oversight. Katt Williams, for his part, leverages viral clips of raw stand-up sets where he can speak about Hollywood's hypocrisy without a censor looming over him. Audiences watch, share, and form their own judgments. Meanwhile, Oprah finds herself in a more precarious position than ever before. Though she remains wealthy and influential, the public's trust in overarching institutions, from mass media to political structures, has been eroding. Any suggestion that Oprah leveraged her empire in questionable ways or brushed shoulders too cozily with morally compromised personalities can now circulate freely online, reaching millions of people overnight. And it's not just internet commentators fueling this shift. High-profile figures like Rose McGowan and Seal have called out Oprah directly, linking her to Hollywood's exploitative underbelly. The fact that these allegations gain traction rather than disappearing in a haze of PR spin signals an evolution in how we process star-driven controversies. The question remains, what happens next? Will the swirl of rumors and pointed accusations prompt a cultural reckoning for Oprah, much like what happened with Weinstein, Bill Cosby, and other disgraced celebrities? Or will the lack of definitive smoking gun evidence allow her to skate by, continuing her philanthropic work while brushing off critics as conspiracy theorists? Hollywood has survived countless scandals and cyclical calls for reform. From the era of black and white starlets controlled by studio contracts to modern times, power players have always found ways to adapt. Oprah might morph her empire into something that resonates with a more vigilant, social media-savvy audience. Meanwhile, figures like Dave Chappelle and Katt Williams can keep telling their versions of the story, encouraging fans to read between the lines. Yet there's an undercurrent of irreversible change. If the myths about clandestine Hollywood deals and manipulation hold any truth, that system is slowly being pried open by technology and an increasingly skeptical public. If, on the other hand, the rumors around Oprah turn out to be exaggerated or baseless, she'll likely continue her philanthropic ventures, talk show appearances, and media production, her legacy relatively unscathed. In either scenario, what's undeniable is the pattern. High-profile comedians and celebrities stepping forward with harrowing accounts of a manipulative environment that capitalizes on their talents, then discards them if they don't comply. The more that pattern repeats, the harder it becomes to dismiss as mere gossip. As the credits roll on this eye-opening investigation, we're left with unsettling possibilities. Could Dave Chappelle's $50 million walkout be the tip of a much larger iceberg, where countless stars felt cornered into compliance or risked being labeled unhinged? Have Katt Williams' chaotic public episodes been orchestrated to tarnish his credibility after he started naming names? And most jarring of all, could Oprah Winfrey, the daytime TV icon heralded for empowering millions, be an integral cog in the Hollywood machine that enforces silence and conformity? Hollywood's illusions are as grand as any cinematic epic. Myths of overnight success, squeaky clean celebrity images, and smiling talk show hosts who seem to have everyone's best interests at heart. Yet as we piece together accounts from Dave, Katt, and a growing chorus of voices, the illusions waver. The entertainment industry might well be a stage where the real power lies behind the curtain, among producers, agents, and media magnates who shape and sometimes distort our public narrative. Where does that leave viewers, the fans who tune in, buy tickets, and idolize these personalities? Perhaps at a crossroads of curiosity and caution. It's tempting to dismiss conspiracies as wild speculation, but patterns don't lie. Repeated blacklisting stories, sudden negative press campaigns, and a consistent theme of manipulation all ring alarm bells. As you watch your favorite comedians or celebrate the next superstar's rise, remember to look beyond the spotlight. Ask the tougher questions, follow the lesser publicized stories, and wonder who stands to benefit from certain rumors or certain silences. Because in a place like Hollywood, truth is often the first casualty when fortunes and reputations hang in the balance. What do you think? Are Dave Chappelle's and Katt Williams' stories part of a grander scheme? Or are they isolated battles with an industry that naturally breeds conflict? Does Oprah Winfrey's legacy of philanthropy and empowerment overshadow these controversies? Or is there a deeper truth behind the polished veneer? Share your thoughts, stay inquisitive, and never forget, not everything that glitters in Hollywood is pure gold. If this exploration sparked your curiosity, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the undercurrents shaping the entertainment world. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you'll be the first to know whenever a new revelation surfaces. The spotlight might be bright, but the real drama often lurks behind it. Stay tuned.